Sup, guys? It's Corrupted,
And it's dragging. We back
back again
again
this week. So I
after
know
a
there
little
wasn't
minute.
one last week, so this week we're gonna try a bit of a double episode.
Gonna
So
try at it. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, man. We back at y'all again. And one of the hypest parts of our whole metaphor, if y'all been following us for a while, man, this is pretty much one of the most important ones this week and next week in the climax of Wano.
yeah, we're pretty much the start of the climax. Like it's right there at it now where we're at, which is crazy,
Yeah,
'cause it feels like we just started.
still does. And time, man. I tell people time is feels imaginary sometimes, man. It's crazy. We've been doing this almost a year.
Yeah, just under a year. We're like a month and a half away from a year, I think, or something approaching that. We're getting there. It's crazy.
40 episodes, man. 40
Yeah,
whole
40
different
episodes.
streams.
Yeah, so that means because we did 2 episodes on Naruto, so that means 40 episodes is so it's 42 episodes total. So that is 10 weeks short of a year. So just over 2 months short of a year, which is crazy. Time goes by fast when you're not looking.
We
Like when you're
appreciated
not looking at
everybody
the
been
clock.
supporting us all the way up through this. Everybody been tuning in. Everybody been chatting with us in these comments during these lives. Definitely been appreciating y'all. But ain't gotta hold y'all no more. Let's go on, get it, man. I
Yeah,
know we
so
definitely come back off the last week. It was off the powerful double Hashoken cannon that freaking Zoro blocked from Kaido and Big Mom and reeling off from all that, and now we get to the scabbards and stuff beating Orochi. It's the first time they supposed to be beating Orochi, supposedly, quote unquote, you know. But if y'all know anything about Orochi and what he's set up for, his whole devil fruit is like the Hydra, so can't just
well, it's
detach one
actually
head, gotta get rid of all of them.
the Orochi from
The Orochi
Japanese
from
mythology,
Japanese,
because it works like
specifically,
the
my bad.
yeah,
I
it
was
works
talking about
like
how
the
he
Hydra.
dies.
You have to cut all the heads off
Yeah,
at once.
yeah, that's what I was more so aiming at, like the Hydra, how he dies, like the Hydra. Yeah,
And it's
my
funny if
bad.
you think about it, like with that, the the fact that Yamato is the one that destroys his reign, right? It's Yamato is directly responsible for the his reign falling apart. Yamato is the name that Susanoo has when he gets thrown out of heaven. It's his mortal name, and Yamato is the name that he has when he kills Orochi in Japanese mythology, which is kind of cool. And the sword,
Also,
and what's his name? Momonosuke's sword is named after the mythological sword that Yamamoto uses to, or not Yamamoto, but Yamato uses to kill Orochi in Shinto mythology, which is kind of cool.
tell you, man, all these different calls and different metaphors towards religion and different mythologies is just it's just so much. It just makes the content more, I won't say relatable, but just more in depth. Like you see the depths in the content when you can compare it to stuff like this. Like it's just it's constructual creativity at its finest.
And then there's also the argument about uh like Kaido being a dragon could also be like depending on what angle you want to take to it. You could also see it as it being a metaphor for Satan too, if you wanted to, which is another thing that's crazy. So there's just so many different ways to like conceptualize it or take it. There's just so many different ways with all the stuff. Cause it's so, excuse me, it's so broad with what's going on in One Piece. Like there's so many different things that you can see where you got the idea
So many
from.
different. so many different lenses that you can look at it, so many different perspectives that you can really take from it. It's one of the things I love about it because literally, like, you have a real conversation about it, people just all of a sudden say something that's going on, and like a lot of times there's so much going on. A lot of people don't think about everything that's going on, especially in some of these conversations and other podcasts I watch. Like they'll say a point, and it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. I hear that so often, and it's like in a content like this and a story like this, that's rare. You don't get all these different lenses and perspectives. You can see the story. Everything's so straightforward nowadays. That's what makes One Piece great.
But like I'm trying to remember everything that I didn't write down that happened. Like Frankie beats the Triceratops guy. The Who's Who fight happens.
Philosophy.
What
In
else?
who's case, in who's case, I thought it was interesting. You see how he really, what's the word I'm looking for? How he was a folly in really everything that kind of happened because it just so happens that he was one of the agents that was on that ship that was transporting the gum gum fruit, which goes back. I can't believe I didn't think about it when I first saw it, but there's no way, like the government having the gum gum fruit already before Shanks even takes the ship, because it was on a government ship being transported, is the most funniest crap ever. Especially when you think about all the stuff now that's going on and the way these guys have to just move and do stuff. But I think it's more to it that we're gonna end up getting later in the whole who's who situation with the gum gum fruit and its transporting and Shank's actual reason for going to that ship and taking it. I'm gonna get all that a lot later. But bro, who's who giving us the disposition of some guy Nika way before we actually got it. I don't know if Oda just used him for that, but then showing his what is this, his prowess in the six paths, because even Jinbei mentioned it. Even Jinbei had to say that he hadn't seen the powers used that way. And man, it's really crazy. Like I'm ready to get that other part because I know Oda's got it. I know he does. I know it's another part of that story that we gonna get that's gonna blow our whole minds about it. But nah, who's situation is interesting. Um, you also mentioned right before that, what you just said.
Do
What you
what?
say right before the who's who?
Um. Ah, crap.
Dang, don't tell me. My mind bad now. Oh Lord,
Yeah, I
it's
don't
all good.
remember. Yeah, I have a
It's
little
all
bit of a
good.
headache at the moment, so I'm just like, fuck, what did I say? I don't remember. But I'm gonna be honest, I kind of want to skip through a lot of the stuff that would have been last week, just because I don't want today to be like 5 hours long.
This
You
man
know what I
saying he
mean?
gonna cut it up. Say he
Because
gonna cut it up.
there's like, because I'm afraid that what's it called? Just talking about the last 5 episodes of this week is gonna end up being 2 hours long if we're not careful. So I want to hit like the big points about last week before.
Nah, I understand. Nah, I understand. You good.
So
You good.
so
But nah, like after who's who, I know next is like Robin and
yeah, there's the
getting into
Sanji thing
that
with Robin, where
because
Sanji
like I
calls
know
for
I
help.
touched on that. I touched on that like Sanji's whole dynamic in Wano, like when he first went into the Soba mask transformation. But in this right here is like, and also I think I touched on it again like earlier when he first asked for help, but just to see it now, it shows you just how much the crew, because all of this in Wano show you just how much on the surface, how much the crew itself is come together and how much they trust each other and how it's viewed by the other people. Just seeing how Law and everyone else reacted to them entering into the raid, you see now is literally the same thing. Like they're pretty much come together in wholeheartedness. And Sanji doing this is showing you how much he's willing to sacrifice his own personality, his own what do you call it, morals, in order to put the crew in a better position because he knows that he's gonna put Robin can handle herself. She's not the baby that everybody. Because I don't know if anyone watches One Piece now, you kind of see the crew kind of over like protects Robin. Like it's kind of a thing, which is understandable. She's like a high profile in the world, but yeah, definitely going forward, seeing Sanji sacrifice his morals, calling Robin for help because putting her in harm's way, and Robin herself, because how Black Maria's power works, she makes you relive past traumas
I thought
and
that was just
revisit them.
like a poison thing, not necessarily a power. Cause
I thought it was like a excretion. I thought she
no,
like excreted it,
I
or
don't
it
think
might have
she
been.
has a mythical Zoan. I think she just has a. She could have a mythical Zoan though.
I know it's not one of the more power ones like ancient, the ones like how they describe the dinosaur ones as ancient kind of, but that's I don't think it's that. But I think you're right. I think it just was a little poison they had in the air or something. But the fight, how in that fight still how she had to go against her own traumas and revisit those to show her growth and show that those
So it is
shackles
an
no longer
ancient
hold her back.
Zoan, but it's not a mythical. So it's
Yeah.
basically like if you guys have ever played Ark, the giant spiders that you can find in Ark and ride on, that's what she is. That's what her devil fruit is. Like I know
But
you know what I'm
nah,
talking about. Those I remember playing
oh, you
Ark
know
and
I
being
know.
terrified when those things showed up.
Oh yeah, yeah, the ranios, yeah. But she, her and facing those traumas and stuff lets you know just how much she's grown as an individual in her own quest to like find her friends and be more included. Is that the word I'm looking for? Included or more useful or more, I guess, to find her home in her friends that she's found. So her past shackles and stuff, all the stuff that Saul showed her, all the stuff her mom told her, all the stuff that Clover told her, it's already come to fruition and she's seen that. So those fake apparitions, those fake images of her past loved ones, she's able to identify it so easily and so callously. And it's just, bruh, like to see that and put it all into this lens is just one of those poetry moments. Like, and I know after that, because I know I could touch on Brooke, but just to keep it concise, keep it to the big moments like you want. Because Brooke also, it's subtle things. It's really subtle things. Because even in Sanji and in his Sanji and Brooke in subtle things, because one of these scenes when they're talking to those guys that show up after they won, when they have that little fight afterwards, and they show Brooke actually talking like himself, but not himself. He actually had to remind himself to joke, to make a dead joke. He had to remind himself on several occasions, not just one. The first one, it kind of like came to him. They used the emphasis animation, like, oh, like an idea that it came to him that he had to talk and say a joke. And then it did, he hesitated the next time he made a joke. And Sanji, in his talking, and they use Zoro and him and Zoro, and it's such a great moment because in him and Zoro's argument, you can hear it. Sanji's talking way more aggressive. And you wouldn't have been able to know that if you weren't watching, like, I mean, you probably would if you was watching the sub, but I watch a lot of dub just because I hear in the backgrounds and stuff a lot. Um, Sanji was using way more aggressive language and way more aggressive tones. So it's subtle changes that's happening to these guys. And it shows like that's growth. That's literally growth. Like you see a lot of that stuff. And that's then put all this stuff into these people we're gonna end up talking about later. But yeah,
Yeah, and
I
then we
already
get
touched on the Zoro
Chopper
thing.
fixing the Oni disease, and we get to see like it makes you wonder like how much stronger was Prime Whitebeard than Kaido when we see Marco is beating the shit out of both Queen and King by himself. Because the
I
anime
thought
doesn't
about that
show it
too.
that well. Because the manga shows like he scratches Queen's face and he makes King cough up blood after he kicks him in the face.
Hmm.
And the thing is
He draws
like
blood on him.
it took Conqueror's hockey infused attacks for Zoro to make King bleed, right? Like originally,
Right.
like that's what it took for
Like
him to
actually
make.
put some.
Yeah. So like, how strong was Whitebeard for his first mate to be out here taking on Kaido's first mate and his second mate.
bro. I thought about that too because even when you think about it too, the remnants of Whitebeard are still around. Like you talk about what Roger and his remnants are still doing. They're not doing what Whitebeard's remnants were doing. I mean, Whitebeard was still in the battlefield for the most part up until the point where he died. And
Yeah.
like you're right. Like his first mate out here still doing all of this, and they was around
And
for
remember,
like
he's
how long was
what's it called? Marco's almost the same age as Kaido. He's like 47 or some shit. Kaido's only
yeah,
like he's like how old is Marco? Like
Marco's doing some shit, man. Like Marco's been around a minute. He's been around a minute. There's no
yeah,
way
he's
that he can't be.
45. The home dude's Kaido's only 14 years older than him, and he's doing all this stuff. Motherfucker's six
Yeah.
eight. God damn.
And like
Excuse me.
you look at like how Marco comes in and how he's really so much more of like a force. Like there him being there is almost like a thorn in the enemy's side. Like him having Chopper there is already bad enough when you think about how he can just heal and like how he's deciphering the battlefield and
Yeah.
counteracting this chemical warfare. But if you got to do like Marco here too, now it's like hold on, man, this dude can heal too, and they can't do nothing for Marco. You really see that Marco's tiring himself out for the most part.
Mhm. Like
Um,
he's having to
he's
deal with
really
all this stuff at the same time.
yeah. Yeah, his plates, he had too much on his plate and he's just dealing with a whole bunch. And that's why he's getting fatigued. He ain't really getting beat up. I mean, he's getting overpowered in some cases, like when he had to jump in front of one of King's Blast, if I remember correct. And it was another point where when he literally slowed up from fatigue and said, "Oh, I'm done. Gonna let the star join the show and stuff." And yeah, man, a lot of that stuff that you look at Marco, it's like, yeah, nah, you too strong to just be this remnant in the story at this point and just doing all this. So yeah, it brings Whitebeard's uh prowess back into question because it's like, bro,
Also,
Whitebeard was really
remember
out here.
Marco was doing like spent 2 years like after they finished fighting Blackbeard. He spent like a year just chilling on the island that Whitebeard took care of, the place where Whitebeard was born. Like just making sure those people were okay and playing doctor. So he wasn't fighting for at least like a year. So he basically comes out of retirement and just fucks up supposedly the strongest person, right hand man. Like the person that they tell us is the strongest, but like we know that Shanks is really the strongest out of all the pirates. Sort of thing, you know what I mean? Like the implication
Right.
is that Shanks is stronger, but it's just like
Big
the thing that
implication at this point.
Kaido's supposed to be a lot stronger. Like his crew's supposed to be insane and everything. Like he brags that he has the strongest army ever, but your two strongest subordinates are getting their butts kicked by a dude that hasn't fought in over a year. That's like a good example is like a UFC fighter that hadn't fought, or a good example is like it's like what John Jones did to Cyril Gahn, right? He had the 3 year layoff, immediately came back, chokes him out like a minute and a half into the first round, and then walks away from him. That's
Yeah,
kind of what Marco did here. He's like, I haven't been keeping up. I've been playing doctor with the village of where my
yeah.
adopted father was born, making sure they're okay. So I haven't even thought about fighting. Haven't been training or nothing. Shows up, beats the shit out of Queen and King, and then says, "Okay, guys, you're good. I'm going to sleep. I'm an old man now. Have fun." That's
Yeah.
basically what he does.
Hey,
But
hey,
and
hey,
he
that's a
and it's
bar
not
though.
like
That's
it's not
true.
like he kicks Queen in the face and then he kicks King in the face. No, it's he's fighting them both at the same time,
Yeah,
which is the
yeah.
crazy thing. Like he's fighting them both at the same time. It's he's not keeping one busy
Honest.
and then or it's not that he's not keeping one busy. He's not like going, "I'll fight you," and then stops that fight in the fight. No, it's they're both trying to hit him at the same time at all times.
Yeah, they're not playing with him. And nah, you're right. Like him holding off both of them just shows you just how much
And he does it
strong
without receiving
he.
any severe injury too.
and that's notable as well. Because Sanji was getting his butt beat when he was had both of them, king and I mean, yeah, king and queen on him at the same time. He was getting thrown around.
Now, I will say in Sanji's defense is his body doesn't really work right now.
True, and
Because
he's
at this
learning it.
entire point, he's like, his body feels weird, and he says like his muscles don't work like they're supposed to. And that's just
Yeah,
him getting the power. Like, that's his, what's it called? That's his, dormant cyborg enhancements, like, activating during the fight. Which is really cool when they actually activate and he has the entire moral collapse on himself, and then he gets tricked into thinking that he's become like his brothers and everything, which is a really interesting, like, philosophical question that he has to ask himself, which was fun to see him go through the motions, and then he's like, wait a second, this is stupid. Why am I just looking at the bad stuff that would have happened? Why am I not looking at what this actually means for me as a person? Why am I assuming it makes me an evil person by default? Which is like it's a good question to ask yourself in general also.
especially in this lens that we watch it in, because when you get to a lot of these things that we look at, because even in a lot of this, even in a lot of the own characters' dialogue we see, because they even look at themselves as even they talk about good pirates and bad pirates, like how because Anami I think talked about it, said it in one of these conversations with how they give good pirates a bad name, and it's like that's such a saying that in and alone of itself a good pirate, because pirate has been so negatively drawn and negatively expressed throughout the whole story. Putting good in front of it in a sentence feels kind of weird when you break it down, but having the battle morally within himself that Sanji's having is a lot of things that haven't happened with a lot of people in the story. And you see that even what we just talked about Big Mom. Like if Big Mom would have had any of this moral battle that Sanji's having right, she would have been a different person. So it's very much so like very much so something to look at and like really think about, because like Sanji is showing us like pretty much the effect I think Luffy's had on him at this point in the story, if I'm trying to express that in the right way. Because Luffy's shown so much of sacrifice, so much of like will, so much dedication, so much honor. It's like Sanji doing certain things that would be outside of that because he knows what Germa represents more than anybody else, is why he left from it. You know, him having this moral battle almost makes the most sense in the world. It's almost like you imagine you spent your entire life not like just helping people all the time. You got find out that you got the lineage of somebody that used to like hurt or like mess up the same people that you were trying to protect. And it's like, how do you cope with that? Like, how do you go forward from that? Like, do you still help, or do you like to help them? You get rid of yourself. I think that's what Sanji's going through. But you see, we know what side he comes out on. You know, comes out on Luffy's side. You know, the side of righteousness. I guess that's so to say the right word.
Yeah, it's I think it's the right word. Like it sounds like the right word. And then like the Sanji thing, I like how the like speaking of like the bettering yourself stuff, how Luffy figures out like the special thing everyone's doing, or not everyone, but what the emperors are doing. He's like, wait, so this entire time you just think you're badass because nobody else knows that you can use Conqueror's hockey, like armament hockey?
Hmm.
Like he's just like, I understand what you're doing now. Like you thought you was special because you can do this thing, and in the middle of the fight, he learns how to do it because it works just like advanced armament hockey since he learned how to do that. So
Conqueror's coding
so he's just like, what? I can do both? Broken.
at the same damn time.
Yeah, he's just like, I can do both. That's broken. He proceeds to fuck everything up, which just cracks me up. He's just like, I don't know, it just shows off how like crazy stupid Conqueror's hockey is. And it also like goes to show like if you don't have Conqueror's hockey, you're just like you can't stand at the precipice of the world of One Piece because Conqueror's hockey is so much more important. Like, could someone without Conqueror's hockey beat Shanks? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Shanks is in his own league at this point. But you
Yeah,
mentioned
like
Conqueror's hockey. You mentioned Conqueror's hockey, and I think it's a good point to bring in that moment where Yamato showed a Conqueror's hockey moment because we've talked about one thing on this channel. We've talked about one thing that's very much so coming back around, and that's the belief theory. And oh my God, man, if I had any one moment to point at this belief theory and give it credence, it's this moment when Yamato shows Conqueror's hockey. For the simple fact of she's a child, okay? She at this point is a
Yamato's
child.
not
She doesn't
child.
really
She's
she
20
doesn't
something.
no, I'm talking in the flashback. The point where she shows
Oh,
Conqueror's hockey.
oh yeah, yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
point
In
where
the
she shows
flashback,
Conqueror's
yeah, yeah.
hockey. She's a child at this point. She doesn't know anything about anything. All she knows is she wants to be Odin. She wants to be Odin so much she believes she's Odin. To a point where these folks caught her, told her, "Nah, you need to come with us and all that." And then Commander Kaido and all that. Oh, I'm gonna come in. Let me go. You're Yamato. Stop calling me Yamato. And literally screams, "I'm Odin," and conquers hockey, knocks everyone out around her. So to pull that in, the belief of her wanting to be or emulate or resembling, whichever word you want to use, of Odin and putting into her identity, she believed it so strongly that she awakened conquers hockey. Like
Well,
my
like we
man,
don't know if that's the first time she's used it. It's just the
it's the first
first
time
time
Kaido.
Kaido sees it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the first time
but
Kaido sees it.
the moment, because like we see, because what we've used Conquer's hockey moments to kind of show has been always at a point of like personality. Because even in Luffy's first time we of us seeing him use it was with Amazon Lily and how him not wanting them to hurt Margaret. And then you see this just was the what do you call it, the accidental releases of it,
Yeah.
not the controlled releases we see Rayleigh and all of them do, but the accidental releases come out in emotion. And at both times before Luffy knew how to control it, we saw it come out on emotional terms. And because him being a conqueror wanting things to go his way, so to speak, like him telling him not to hurt Margaret, I said stop. Then the next time was Marineford when told him not to kill Ace. I said stop. And that's for Ace. One was for Margaret, the other one was for Ace. And now you see in Yamato's cases because they're mess playing with her name in layman's terms, and they playing with her name, keep calling her Yamato. Says she's Odin, and bruh, like for her to awaken Conqueror's hockey, not awaken, but to show a Conqueror's hockey feat in that moment of her pretty much re-identifying herself and being Odin, is just like that brings the belief theory back. And as I love it, that is still showing up. Like ever since we first talked about it up in Skypiea with the monkeys. Can't remember their names right now. I thought it was Kashira and forgot the other one or whatever. But um it's always coming back around. And we're gonna see that a lot more. Like even in this is only the first one. It's another one. But we're gonna get into it. You there?
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. My computer was being uh kind of annoying. It was freezing and I was trying to figure out what was wrong with it. But
Smarter technology, the dumber it acts.
no, I think it's just too many things running at the same time that it was slowing down. I was trying to get it to work again. But yeah, and then there's the stuff with Big Mom talking. No, that happened in this. No, it does happen in last week's episode where like we get the glimpse of like how Big Mom could have turned out if she didn't run into Streusen. Right, like if she would have
Mhm.
had a good role model instead of a bad one. With the where we see when she goes into mom mode and like you can tell like she knows that she's supposed to be good to the kid, but doesn't know how because of how she was treated growing up. And you can see though, but she understands like the innocence should be preserved of the kid, sort of like interaction going on, which I think is super interesting because of like what it is. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
you're
the
right.
implication of it. So it's just one of those things that's just like, oh, I wonder. Like, I think it's worth wondering. I guess is the way to say it. That I think it's worth wondering. Yeah, yeah, I like saying it that way. I think it's worth wondering. That's a. I fuck
Worth
with that
diving into.
actually. Well, like, I think it's worth wondering from her about like from her perspective on that because of what it potentially actually means for the like her mental state as a whole because we see she almost kills Pepe over that because Pepe
Yeah.
wants to hurt a little kid.
Oh yeah.
Like she straight up 100 she armament of the Supreme King punches Pepe so hard Pepe almost dies. Like
And even
just
has a she even has a Conqueror's Hockey burst too in the middle of
yeah,
all that.
that knocks people out. So it's like one of those
But yeah,
things like
she really changed. Like she really like her whole mental state changed to protecting Tama when they were like 2 seconds ago. The people that's like right behind her in Usopp and Nami, she was just trying to kill.
yeah, people that she was just willing to kill like not even 30 seconds ago. Which just raises
It's-
so many more questions.
And she's now pseudo protecting. No, you're right. That is worth wondering about, worth looking into, because it's like, they I ain't gonna say they, but Oda like uses Big Mom's mental state a lot to kind of not differentiate but fluctuate her like force output.
I
And
know
she'll
what you
go
mean.
from being like a stone cold killer at one point to her mental state getting messed up, and now she's just this bull in a china shop to her mental state changing again, and now she's just defenseless, not wailing, not wanting to do nothing but scream to her mental state change again. To now her whole uh focus change, her whole mental track has now changed to doing one thing to now doing something totally different. Nah, Oda plays to her mental state a lot, so it's definitely worth talking about, worth diving into more. Even when it comes down to a lot of her methods in which she goes about doing stuff, because she's very prideful too in
Yeah,
her
she is.
in going against Law and Kid. She was trying so hard to prove that she's just, yeah, y'all want to go against Emperor, I'm gonna give it to you then. I'm gonna give it to you then. I'm just gonna do everything in my arsenal to show you that I'm just more powerful than you. Not the fact that Law and Kid are fighting her more strategically, trying to put messing with her positions and stuff, because they already know that they don't got the power to beat her. At least Law knows that. I can't say that much for Kid, because Kid's, he's kind of bull in a china shop too. Just really, he just shooting, he just going. But in Law's case, he's setting, kind of putting her in positions and the positions he wants to do because that's how his power works. He controls the battlefield. And she's
Yeah,
so
the
focused
world
on
is
trying
his
to be
operating
powerful.
table.
Exactly. Exactly. And she's so focused on trying to show off her power and just show them why they're trying to get her out of there. And I guess that's one of the same follies why her and Kaido can end up becoming friends. They got the same kind of follies. Like, and to mention that to liaison off of that, because the one thing that was so dumb to me,
You
which
there?
I guess Kaido
Oh,
at this
I
point
think
where he
you cut
was
out for a second
after he
there.
got so much bravado. You hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
no, talking about how dumb Kaido and Big Mom are while they're friends, like literally Kaido gives, and he probably got so much like bravado, and his head probably got like really headstrong and big after that raid or after Odin passed away. But he literally gives swords to samurais who weren't shackled up, put his own child in a cave with his enemy,
Box
who
of
literally like
scraps.
what happened?
No, 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 no. I was making a joke. Never mind. I'm sorry. It was a bad joke.
Nah, you good. But literally, he put them in there like they weren't shackled. Yamato's in there. Like in any other world, in any other setup, if samurai weren't so honorable, they could have killed Yamato, and nobody would have batted an eye because like Kaido's own subordinates told him. But they literally looked at Yamato as the future of Wano and literally put all their trust in Yamato. And that's because what's his name? I know it's Shimotsuki, but I can't think of his other name. I think it's Ushimitsu or Ushimaru. It's Ushi
Um,
something. But the daimyo of Ringo. But
yeah, yeah,
Zoro is said to be uncle
yeah, I can't remember
Ushimaru.
his.
But he literally looks at Yamato soon as they read Odin's journal because that was a big thing when I looked at it, and I'm like, bruh, they never knew what the world was like outside of Wano. Get Odin's journal that Yamato just so happens to have, because it was one thing for her to say, "Oh, I'm Odin," say that to them, but then to have Odin's journal that they've been looking for that she wants to read this whole time. Oh no, you really, if you was keeping that safe, you really must have some kind of affection towards Odin, not affection, but what's the word? Respect. Respect for Odin to do that. So them getting Odin's journal, reading that, getting that enlightenment of what the world is like outside of that, then getting his same wishes of the 20-year wish that Toki had that people gonna come in 20 years say want getting that same vision like, well, we can't wait 20 years. Well, this dumb dude just gave us our swords. We finna go crazy then. We gonna trust her with Wano because she just said it in her little dream that she gonna be strong and sit there and wait. All right, she gonna stay here. We finna go do our thing. Belief theory, trust, the belief that it's gonna happen again to put your life on the line. Back with sacrifice, what they doing on their side of sacrificing for this greater good that's supposed to come, versus on the other side, Kaido and them just doing these sacrifices for themselves that it's only really pushing themselves and not their own agenda. Cause, bruh, ain't no way, bruh. Like man, ain't no way. Like Kaido, bruh, ain't no way. Like the way he should have went about it is why I feel like Kaido was too headstrong and stuff and a lot of that stuff. He should have took out everybody else first. The weaklings, never waste his time on Luffy and just went nuts with everybody else.
He probably should have, but also like the whole thing is Kaido's just like I want to experience the thing that I haven't gotten to experience, sort of thing. But like I've said multiple times, like I think he's full of shit when he says all that stuff.
Even then,
Like,
yeah,
no, it's just because when he has the opportunity to actually act out what he says he believes, he doesn't.
exactly.
Like,
On
that's why
multiple
I think
occasions.
he's all, like, I think he's 100% full of fucking crap every time he says something like that. Because at no point in time does he ever, like, stand on business, for lack of a better word. He just says that he believes this thing, and then when he has the opportunity to prove that he believes it, he immediately does. He just goes, "Well, it wasn't that important in the first place." But everyone else, it's just like I'm gonna stand on
Because he does
business.
that. He does that another. I mean, we there was another moment we talked. We're gonna talk about a little later when we get to the Gear 5 part. But even in right now, when he was talking about how it's like he knows, but he does it the wrong thing anyway. Like when he beats Luffy the last time, right before he throws him off, he literally monologues and says, "I should have never threw you off. I should have cut off your head and showed it to your friends so they could know that you've lost. But you knew that, but you still threw him off." You know what I'm saying? Like you say that as this dude's falling to the ocean, you literally say, "I should have cut off your head and show it to your friends so they don't get this foolish hope that you'll return." He literally says that as this man's falling down. So you knew that. Okay. Okay. You had an opportunity to stand on business. You literally say what you should have did to stand on business and you don't do it. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right,
and he
corrupt.
just
You're right.
doesn't. He just doesn't follow up with it, which is like my entire problem with it. Is like how weak it is. Like, like you get, like it's just one of those things. Like you're just like, well, fuck this man. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things like he talks a big game, but every time he has the opportunity, he just doesn't go through with what he claimed. Because we've seen what it looks like when someone goes through with it, and that is what Katakuri did. Like Katakuri was just like, oh yeah, so we were just supposed to have a duel, someone interrupted it, so I'm gonna make sure we're at the same position.
Because it's one of those things. It's like Katakuri prided himself on his strength, and that was consistent throughout his entire character, and it was really consistent, even up to the point to where whatever the little girl Flambe, I think that was her name, interrupted and shot those poison darts at Luke. Was it poison darts? Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
little
it was poison
paralyzation
darts.
things. Like, and he noticed that, and it's like, dang, he caught because of that is the only reason this man just got caught in the side with one of my blows. Okay, you interrupted it. Let's even the score back again, because ain't no way
Yeah.
somebody just gonna say that I got saved. Ain't nobody just gonna say that my strength wasn't enough because I pride myself on this strength. But Katakuri was so prideful. Like we talked about that too, which how he always what was the thing about not falling on his back to the point that he would fall on his neck, put all his weight on his neck before he would fall on his back. So it was consistent. Everything about it was consistent. But it's like, and I think a lot of it comes down to like when we talk about this emotional state in Big Mom, the same thing in Kaido too, because Kaido gets drunk even on the battlefield, and
Mhm.
he's emotional too when he's in his drunk state. So that's another thing. It brings credence to what you're talking about him being just full of it. Because like, dude, you have all these opportunities to just go off and you put yourself in these negative situations, negative binds. Even being as powerful as he is, wanting to kill himself is even more so just why, dude. At least that's me. I apologize if it's not anyone else that sees it that way, but Jesus, man, it's like Kaido. He's definitely strong, but he's got a lot of flaws. I'll tell you that.
Well, I think like saying he has a lot of flaws is like a total understatement. You know what I mean? Like that feels like a total
Yeah,
understatement.
we could spend an hour at least in this talking about all his flaws in
Yeah.
full. But
So it's
nah,
like one of
it's a
those
lot of
things.
credence to what you're saying. There's a lot of credence to it because Kaido like wanting this glorified ending instead of wanting this glory. Because even at the point where him and Big Mom decided to be officially an alliance, it's like, dude, y'all should have wiped everybody then. Y'all should have wiped everybody then. But it's gosh, man, the growth because it's a lot of things in which you see Kaido and Big Mom in that conjoined force. Like they really showed off how powerful the emperors were, but at the same time, they're not that smart.
Yeah, they're not,
They're
or
really
at
not
least
that
most of
smart.
them
Like
aren't.
like Shanks, bro. Shanks is intelligent. Like Shanks knows what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I
100%,
feel like
one,
he knows.
1000%.
Roger, you see the remnants of Roger pirates and how they move. They know that they don't really have legs because they've done it already. So it's like their roles is almost like side roles, but they are the most like most important of sides. Like they're the crew that's responsible for the whole freaking pirate era that they're in. So them being the role that they play and being the side characters, they're just so informative and so like Rayleigh was pivotal, and we yet to see how Scoppers is. Crocus, we saw him way earlier in the story and how he kind of played the role of like the way pointer, like the dude that just pointed away and say, "You go this way if you want to do this."
Yeah, and it's funny
And
because he
Rayleigh,
lives in a White House or a lighthouse,
yeah,
which
yep,
just like adds to that.
yep, exactly. So, and then you see that's what goes back to what we was talking about earlier, why Whitebeard pirates, how they like Whitebeard in his role, kind of reinforcing Roger's original declaration in the One Piece, and also his crew kind of. It's crazy because now I'm thinking about it now. You remember one of the last orders that Whitebeard gave his crew? Do you remember? Because one of the last orders
Protect
he
Straw
gave his
Hat.
crew, exactly. Marco's still following that order, dude. Still following that order up until this point in this story.
Technically, Neko Mamushi's following that order too.
Izo as well.
Yeah, like that. They took that to like Heart.
Heart. And
Yeah.
bruh, it's almost like when you talk about Whitebeard strength, that's how strong. Like to say that your word can last after your death, an order can last after your death is just that's
Yeah,
great.
especially that long after your death too.
Yep. At that point, it's at least been 2.5 years, or at least 2.25 years at this point, or almost a quarter.
Yeah, it's
But
been over
like
2 years since that happened. So it's been a while, and Marco's still just like, "Yep, okay, big boss, okay, dad."
And he knows, and the fact that he knows too how he pretty much knows like what the Straw Hats are capable of to a point that he knows when he can step out of the way and he knows when he needs to step in. It's different how it was at Marineford when it was just Luffy and they had to really kind of, I mean, I wouldn't say baby Luffy, but they had to treat him with a little bit more care, with a little bit more of a, hey,
No, I
get out of
think
the way. Oh, shoot,
it's
you got this
fine
over
to
there.
say to use the phrase "baby Luffy," that they babied Luffy, because they kind of did.
Yeah, I'm trying to be, a little bit fair.
I don't think you're
But
being unfair if you say it in that regard either, though. I think it's fine.
even because in the moment, that's like probably one of Luffy's most growth heavy moments. So yeah.
Yeah, one of his heavier growth
And
moments. Yeah, I agree with that.
because even when you get down into what, because a lot of the different pirate crews kind of operate in kind of differences. Because we talk about Kaido and how his crew operates. It was kind of how you talk about how you boast strength and boast like, oh, I got the strongest crew and stuff like that. Yet we see Shanks can pull up to an entire in the middle of a war and just stop it with just his crew without all these enhancements and stuff. And then you see people like Blackbeard, which was another thing that's happening, and he's literally splitting his crew up, just telling them to go do. He has a goal, just go do this one thing, not really make a big noise, but just do this one thing. And
Yeah.
bro, it's like the power dynamic is really gonna start to shift once we get into the later stuff. Like even in Elbath right now, we start to see, but that's a conversation for later. But
Uh,
to have see the
yeah,
way,
that's a conversation for a pretty long way away because they're not going to be in Elbath until like halfway through this year, at least.
yeah. But to see just how the different strokes of power and the way different power crews operate is just so crazy how it changed how it's gonna change after Wano and even now when we take it into consideration. Because dude, strength like in actual strong crews has been something that's so like what's the word, like unspecified almost, like to say what is
Yeah.
the real strength in the crew because so many different that have been successful in One Piece have done it so differently.
Mhm. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. But we go, I think after that pretty much we start getting into like um Killer and his whole thing with what's the dude, the fake straw dude, Hawkins. Yeah, yeah, Hawkins. He's
Yeah, with Hawkins.
because Hawkins' dynamic dude when Killer told him about how yeah, you pretty much took the coward's way out. We Kaido dropped on us and you pretty much like surrendered immediately
Yeah, and you just
and we didn't
dipped and fell
and we're
for it.
still here.
Yeah. Especially like how he dealt with that too. Like he's just like, listen here, you little piece of fucking shit. Fuck you. Like it's essentially how he goes with it. Like I really
Pretty
fuck
much,
with
yeah.
that aspect.
Cause and he talked about it like in a way too, because like we talk about a lot of stuff that Luffy stands for and stuff, and we see a lot of the sides that Luffy on kind of have the same mind. And to tell Hawkins that you pretty much took the coward's way out, bowed like a dog, and went like literally to basically to survive with your little cards, but we didn't. We took the noble, I wouldn't say, well, the brave way out. We stuck to our own devices, and yet I'm here fighting you right now on the same side because they used to be partners at one point on the same side that you deserted to survive. I'm still right here surviving, fighting you. Like if anything that we've been talking about, because I swear that's why I love this little string when you say it's a lot. And Killer showing off that you believe in, again, back to the leaf theory, that you take sticking to your own devices and believing that you still find a way can work out over surrendering your own beliefs to try to survive in a world that wants to take your beliefs away. Because that's basically what Kaido does. Oh, you got something you want to achieve on this sea right here? Well, you got to get through me. You can't get through me or join me. I can kill you or you can join me. But your dreams you had on the sea, over with. Just like that. And you was willing, Hawkins was willing to surrender his, which just shows even more so of how B made he is. And yet the same dude you deserted is here fighting you. Yeah, 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 you want to Kaido's henchman. Yeah, yeah, you your daddy son. Ain't that's how that work? I think. I don't know. I ain't never understood that phrase, that slang phrase.
What slang phrase?
You your daddy son.
Well, it just means like you're the son, like you are your father's son, like you act exactly like your father, is like basically what it means.
And he called Kaido his daddy, and he acting just like him right now. B
Yeah,
made,
being a
bitch
little
made.
bitch. No, I'm sorry. I think Kaido is like a massive punk. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think like if you look at it, like Kaido claims like I'm the strongest ever and all this other stuff, right? But everything that he does is conducive to where he either doesn't really believe it or
He
like
contradicts
that's
it.
the only thing it could be. Honestly, like that's the only thing it could be. And it's just so like how he is as a thing just makes me so mad just because of how much of a little bitch boy, baby boy Kaido is. And I know people are gonna get mad at me for saying it like that, but that's just like, it's just like when you look at it, it's like how can you see it any other way?
I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean. There's a lot of was contradictions and stuff that he does. I think he most so became that way over time. I think he started off in a way that he needed to be, and then it's more so became that. That's just my giving him benefit of the doubt in some little way, but I'm not denying nothing. Nah, that man is. There's a lot of ways he's moving. It just doesn't like you strong, and like I just wish the. I guess it goes back to the idea of how the strong can't be smart, the old way of thinking. Like if you were just smart, you were weak. I guess, but it's not true at all. But I think Kaido prided himself on strength so much that he just thought that he got to this point to where he was so powerful that just nobody's gonna be able to match this level of strength, no matter who I go against. Like, okay. Even so much that he literally said himself, the only person that's gonna be able to beat me is Joy Boy. Like, it goes all back to his own folly with thinking of how powerful he is.
Yeah. I just I fundamentally just don't like Kaido because he's like such a like he stands on no business yet thinks he's the greatest, and that's why I can't stand the man.
Which is fair. That's very fair. That's very, 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 very fair. But one thing about Kaido that we've touched on that comes back up in this round is your theory or your parallel with the Four Horsemen of Hell or the Four Horsemen of the
No, not a
Apocalypse theory.
yeah, apocalypse.
Yeah, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse theory because Queen reiterates who they are to Sanji when he talks about them, like, oh yeah, drought, wildfire, and plague, and we're the calamities that protect Kaido, and like literally, literally, like we talk about the three horsemen, the four horsemen. We talked about Kaido being the last one. That's like conquest or war, right? Please correct me if I'm wrong in
It's
any of this.
war, conquest, and
Conflagration and
no, it's war, conquest, and conquest is either conquest or pestilence. So like plagues because of a early thing in the Book of Psalms, or it is what's the thing called? And the other one is famine.
yeah, famine. That's the one I was missing.
Yeah.
And we see he reiterated that again, brought that up again, y'all. We went over that in our last episode or last two episodes. It wasn't something we talked about it, touched on it, and this like comes right back around in Queen's mention again. Want to make sure I bring it up if y'all ain't heard about it, ain't seen it. But even when we talk about them, because bringing that up again, because it shows like how it brings another credence to just what Kaido tried to stand for. Because when you talk about even Queen and King had the same kind of pride in them, like how, oh, we're the lead performers. It's like y'all just ain't gonna come in here and do this, but it's like, bro, y'all this powerful, but y'all ain't really like, what are we doing right now? Like Zoro pretty much at this point, like yeah, that medicine healed and stuff, probably for a second, but it healed the wounds he already had. Like it was a lot that was going on that Zoro could have easily like caught astray from or caught like the wrong thing from, but I mean, I don't think the medicine sensu being them for the second, but it could have. I mean, it could have. I ain't even gonna doubt it, but like there's a lot of things in which I look at, like even Kaido's crew, which how they really just so strength thirsty or so like what do you call it? It's a word I'm looking for. They're so like arrogant or like overly. They're just overly confident for no reason at all.
Yeah, arrogant would be the word.
Yeah, like just so it though. Like and when you think about everything that they're doing, like Queen especially, because he knew as soon as he found out Sanji was Judge's son, it's like, oh, I'm just keep running that. Oh yeah, I'm better than Judge. Judge ain't nothing. Yeah, H super soldiers, and I'm finna beat him up. Show him that he inferior to me. Yeah, it's like no, bro. You fight against a dude that abandoned all things Judge. So really, what are you winning right now?
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
one thing that does happen there, which is hilarious. Like the whole time he's just like crazy, like show me it, Germa boy, and then Sanji's just like, I gave that up a long time ago, you piece of shit. Stop asking me about it, you motherfucker.
exactly,
Stop it. Get some help.
exactly. Get some help. Stop it.
But
Go get some help.
I think we gotta get into like the main stuff.
It's time. Oh yeah, it's time.
Um, since we did talked about some of the ancillary stuff, I know this week's a little discombobulated compared to normal, but it's just because there's so much that we have to cover in a short amount of time. But so the big thing from last week's episodes, I think the most important part to cover is the metaphor of Momo getting aged up,
Yep.
because it's just a metaphor for how war cost the innocence of a child. That's legit what it means. Like
Was
that's what
something
it's a
we've
metaphor
talked
for.
about. Was something that Oda himself has really touched on since Dressrosa in Doflamingo, and how the kids who've seen war and kids who've never seen war have different, perceptions of the world, and we see that exonerated literally perfectly in just Momo, you know, like literally in Momo, we see that idea so exonerate, like so explained so perfectly. And you talk about it like even in him growing up, because it's great. It's crazy even when Luffy tells him too, because when he gets grown up and he's in his dragon form, and Luffy tells him, "You're big now. You're a dragon. Why are you still acting so wimpy?" It's because at our heart he's still a kid. He's still the same kid that's been through this war and still trying to learn himself. Now he has to adapt in this grown body, which he's already up until the point that we've met him and found out that he was the next shogun. He's been trying to adapt into a grown adult role. So now he's adapting to a grown adult body. And then you take the aspect that he's had to learn war and he's had to pretty much grow ahead of his time. And you show like him actually growing up to show that his body is actually now catching, like really like catching up to where it's supposed to be, or his body is now catching up to, yeah, no, his body's catching up to where it's supposed to be in the world, but his mind still has to come up around. And bro, that's a lot of pressure. That's additive pressure on the already idea that we're already about in regards to Momo.
Yeah, there's just so
Like,
much stuff there. Like, so much. Just like as a general thing with that. But it's not like a bad thing of there being so much. It's just,
not at
it
all.
feels impossible to cover absolutely everything about that particular thing without taking the entirety of an afternoon. And then the other important thing that we got to cover is the fact Luffy when he gets KO'd and they think he's dead and they can still hear him, and he comes back stronger than before he got KO'd.
Zenkai boost.
I guess it would be a Zenkai boost, but like he doesn't get like beaten within an inch of death like most of the time the Zenkai boost how the Zenkai boost works. But
Yeah, no, you're right. But a lot of things, because like it is crazy to think about how he was still. It gives credence back to when they first started. When he got knocked out the first time by Kaido, and he was looking down on him and said, "Yeah, he's knocked out," but it's like he looking at me. He's still staring at me, like he's still saying "F me" right now, and it's true because you can tell. Like they just iterated and said it was true because the fact he was knocked out in the water, miles and miles away from the island, and still here.
yeah. Also, another thing I almost forgot is the Rumble Ball side effects is very similar to Gear 5 side effects.
And how he got old. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
baby
also
gives
hate.
your chopper.
I hate that Chopper actually admitted he learned something from Caesar.
Why? Why? Because you're allowed to learn from your enemies.
I'm just like I hate Caesar so much.
Yeah. Fuck Caesar though, for real, for real.
I hate
Like I
Caesar
hope
so much.
Caesar
I was like,
dies.
dang,
Me and
because
my
he
homies
told
hate
him.
that man.
Yeah, I mean, like Caesar told him, he's like, you ain't gonna get nowhere worrying about the side effects of everything. And Chopper literally was like, yeah, I ate the other rumble ball, knowing full well what was gonna happen. I wasn't prepared for it, but I didn't care about it. And it's like, damn, you just admitted you learned something from Caesar. Damn it. Why he had to be an iteration right now, but you're right. You're supposed to learn from your enemies in some way or form of another. I always tell people you can learn. It's no such thing as you can't learn. Like anybody can teach you something, whether it be minimal or major.
Yeah, so
But
I think we should just do the big thing and skip straight to the Gear 5 fight. Because that's like, well, not straight to the Gear 5 fight, but skip straight to the fight that leads to Gear 5. Because there's a lot of stuff that is said between the two. And also,
of
like,
course,
while that's happening, we
I
get the
mean that's
King
that's pretty
fight.
much where we are. That's pretty much where we are. Like, cause I've been reading and getting my points from in between 1056 to 1062. So
Yeah,
like,
so,
yeah,
sorry, had to yawn. Um, but the thing is, like, we see, like, what Kaido thinks about himself and the world, and Luffy just does a complete, just like, yeah, I think you're full of shit, my guy. Like
the
that's not
drunk
like
moment.
Luffy just like, nah, I don't, nah, bro, I'm sorry, that's a no go for me. I'm gonna need you to stop talking about that because you just sounded like a punk. Like that's legit, just like all Luffy's hitting it with.
Yeah, you talking about in that little drunk monologue he does.
Not the drunk monologue, but just in general, he's just like, every time like Kaido says like, this is what I've been working so hard for, and Luffy's just like,
Yep,
so you've been working so hard at being a bitch, and then punches him.
yep,
Cause like you could tell, like I know I'm oversimplifying it by saying he says like it's like when he gets Momo to bite Kaido. He's like, Momo, take a bite, and he's just like, see, like you just bit supposedly the strongest person on the planet. Now
or
there's
an
literally
important key
nothing
word
that is
to use.
scary. But Kaido's just like, no, I disagree. I'm not the scariest thing on the planet. But you just spent the entire fight explaining that you're the scariest thing on the planet. Like, make up your goddamn mind, Kaido. You can only have one or the other. You know what I mean? Like, his whole thing. He's so convinced that he wants to be the strongest, but he hates himself for being the strongest because he can't have any actual fun anymore. So he tries to steal the fun from everyone else around him. That's like legit what the fight boils down to by the end of it.
Yeah, you see, so especially because once he gets into that drunk monologue, starts like reflecting and stuff, is like you see a lot of that little like crazy like thought processes come out because it's like you could have literally done so much more, and it's you could have went for. I think Kaido, if he would have made a drive for the One Piece, and you didn't
I
do that, you
don't
chose to
think
stay
he
in
would
Wano,
have taken the
and
drive for the One Piece because he fundamentally doesn't understand what it means to give
yeah,
up a piece of
no, I
yourself
agree.
to achieve something.
I agree because he really like him staying and making this camp in Wano for all those years, 20 years though, my guy, 20 years. You stood up in Wano and waited for the Kozuki Oden and Samurai's supposed return. And you didn't try to go for the One Piece like at
You
all?
spent 20 years trying to kill yourself. Like, like that's legit all he's really done. He's like thrown himself off Sky Island, tried to hang himself, all this other stuff. And it's just like, it's just, I just, Kaido does not stand for anything. So that's why I cannot stand him as a character, because he tries to convince you the entire time that he stands for something. It's like he's like the kid that read the one philosophy book in middle school and he thinks he's deep now. That's what Kaido reminds me of. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
Like like his personality is an inch deep trench that might go on forever, but there's no substance to it as soon as you look into the water. Cause he's just like, I'm the strongest creature alive, but I want to die. Like, I'm sorry, but then you're not the strongest creature alive because your will to live doesn't exist, therefore negating the fact that you're the strongest creature. And also, we know he's just pumping himself up because, like, there's so many people stronger than him. You know what I mean? Like, he probably knows who the elders are, and you could like the God's Knights. He knows who the God's Knights are. He knows all this stuff. Like, so he's just holding the title of strongest because nobody else has made a claim against it from him. And he's just like, so that makes me the strongest. But his backing it up is fighting an 18-year-old. Like, that's the only time
Yeah,
he's
not
ever really
like,
backed it up is he's fighting an 18-year-old kid that actually like is beating him for about half the fight. I
and then you
just
talk about what he's done against the people like Shanks and what he's done against people like, who else has existed in his time. Like he's not doing this against like Garp or like
yeah,
he
yeah,
hasn't
like
seen
he's
him
not
against
doing it
like Roger.
against the people that he claims like he didn't fight Blackbeard. And then we, with the benefit of hindsight, we know that him and Shanks had a battle, and the Kaido brings a fleet. But beforehand, like when we first learned that that happened, it sounds
Hmm.
like it was a fleet versus fleet. But we learn at the start of Elbath that Shanks doesn't actually have a fucking fleet. He just has one ship, and he lets other people pretend to be in his fleet so they don't get attacked by other people. And so once we have that, it's Shanks' ship by himself, like that one ship, either defeated Kaido's entire fleet or escaped an entire fleet, which both of those are insane feats. And we know that he can destroy an entire fleet because he one-shots multiple ships with the stuff that goes on with Kid, right? He one-shots multiple ships. So the Kaido saying that I'm the strongest creature in the world, it doesn't mean anything because he doesn't prove it to anyone except for an 18-year-old boy. Like he's not willing to prove it to anyone but an 18-year-old boy and a bunch of people that he uses as slave labor.
I can
Like,
see
how are
it.
you gonna call yourself how are you gonna call yourself the strongest when that's the only way that you're willing to prove it is that you're willing to exploit people? That's like definitionally, even the definition of strongest that Kaido himself gives us doesn't add up. It's like he admits to himself, but he's too afraid to be real with it that he's not actually as strong as he claims to be. He just sees winning like it's like he understands what being strong is, so to make up for the fact that he's not actually meeting that definition of strong, he has to do the definition of strong where he won, so therefore he's strong. Like he has to pull social Darwinism out of his ass to not feel like a failure. And that's like what we see in his fight with Luffy. Because once he realized like Luffy could win, he goes into the drunken, stupid state and starts crying. You know what I mean? Like as soon as you realize like there's a legitimate chance Luffy's gonna beat me now, that's when he starts. And he doesn't like in his ultimate attack where he covers himself in fire. He doesn't even do that until it's like the point where there's no way he can win.
Cause like, where was this entire time?
Yeah, yeah. Like if you really about the business that you say you are on, but like you and if you know that it's that hot that it will burn him before he touch you, like then you 100% know that you could do that before. Why didn't you do it before? Is the downside of that technique so high that if you don't win with it, that you automatically lose? So you didn't do it. Like what's the deal here? Like there was just so many moments where he's just like, I'm the strongest, but I refuse to show you that I'm the strongest. But just believe because I beat a bunch of people that were already injured or took advantage of a situation that I shouldn't have had in the first place because the person that could actually hurt me was distracted or got hit from behind by another person. I'm still the strongest. You just have to believe me on this, guys. And that's what he does the entire fight with Luffy. And that's why I can't stand him. Like, it makes him a well written villain because there's nothing worth cheering for with him. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things like there's no redeeming quality because he's such a two-faced little pussy bitch.
Yeah, man, you just ripping all off into him today, man, with
Well,
the
that's what he
extra harsh
is.
words,
Like, like,
extra harsh words today.
but what else do you call a person that pretends to be the man?
Pathetic,
Exactly, like
pathetic.
a pathetic little bitch. There's no like that's the only way to say it is he's a pathetic little bitch that clings to the idea of him being the strongest because if he is the strongest, he doesn't have to contend with the fact that he's not enough. Like that's what you get from all of his interactions with it. And then that's why he tries to kill himself because he understands that he's not enough. And he fundamentally wants to destroy the part of himself that knows he's not enough. Like, really, that's my interpretation of all the stuff that happens. Because he just, like, if he really believed his own hype, he would stand on business whenever he has the opportunity to stand on business. Like, he wouldn't be like, sure, he could have fun in the fights and stuff like that. Like, having a close fight for the first time in like 37 years or some shit, right? But if he's not gonna respect the reverence of the fight that he claimed was so good. That's the first time he actually had fun in friggin' years.
Because another thing, because now you just made me think about it, because it's crazy. Because now when I see Kaido in this lens, just how so deep into this fake power that he has, you can look at it because even Queen and King kind of did the same things,
Or
smaller
I don't want
scales,
to
of
say
course,
it's
but
like fake power. I want to say it's fake
overconfident arrogance.
superiority. It's fake superiority.
That's better because especially what I'm about to explain with Queen, because the fake superiority thing came into so much. Because when you think about it, just how you did, how we just said he just cloaked himself in this fire form and pulled this out of nowhere. Like, where was this whole time? Because this dude already was hitting you without touching you. Like, if you wanted to do this, you could have done this so long ago. Even in Queen's thing, because he chooses to bring out this self black. Oh, I'm gonna show you that. Oh, I can show it to turn invisible just like you, and I'm gonna do this against you just to show you that yeah, I can do what you do, and Judge is inferior to me, and all this. And I'm like, bro, you just now pulling all these extra stops out just to prove a point. And in King's case, King does the same thing because even he's talking to Zoro like you're just gonna lose when he tells him you're biologically incapable of beating me. In that sentence alone, you pretty much have already in your head thought that there is nobody biologically capable of beating you. Nobody has the genetics to beat you. You've already put that in your head. So to see Kaido in his lens, and it's crazy because now the consistency is there, and that all makes sense to me because I like the consistency and things to actually line up. That Kaido is this way, and now your crew is actually smaller versions of this. I mean, Jack, even if you take that same lens and put it into what Jack's about, him being the weakest just makes even more of a sense. He literally is for him to say he's the strongest now at this point to how he got did on Zoe is like, bro, you need to just step out of the room. Like sit this one down, big homie. We ain't talking about you right now. Like you ain't even in this race right now. But in King and Queen's case, it's like, okay, yeah, y'all was doing something at least to like to kind of to to turn the wheels in y'all's favor a little bit. But in Kaido's case, it's like, bro, you in your words, he's a pussy little bitch in the
Yeah,
whole
like as
big
soon as you
grand scheme of
apply
things
it,
of it.
like as soon as you apply it to how you would talk about somebody, and like if someone acted this way in real life, you would call them a pussy ass bitch. So you have to call Kaido a pussy ass bitch.
And then like to see it in this, to see how literally Kaido does this and operates this way. You operate your crew this way, so now your top guys think this way. So now they're gonna put it on to the bottom guys who now think this way. So now your whole crew is just this big like contradiction walking around, and like all it's gonna take is just the one domino to fall, and everything's gonna go down. Like literally, as soon as Jack went down the first time, and that allowed, Zoe and the Minks and all that to re-rally and push, help Luffy and them push to Wano, and now they got to Wano and all of them show. Because we think about that aspect and how Nekomamushi and Dogstorm actually weren't supposed to be there if Jack did his job the way, which takes a lot of their force out, a lot of pivotal figures out of this fight if Jack does his job the right way. So, like, you see how the crews run and all this, and it's like, bro, y'all really like it's mistakes all around, obvious mistakes. And yeah, man, I mess with that. I know we see, especially when we see how Zoro's gonna come in, and how you talked about how him getting Conqueror's coding earlier. I actually thought that him getting Conqueror's Haki alone was just great. I'm ready for Sanji to get Conqueror's Haki. Go ahead and awaken it. I mean, at this point, it feels inevitable. But when we see Zoro come in and him in his own reaffirmations of his promises back at the beginning of him not losing again. And I know a lot of people love to throw that asterisk in there, like, oh, he lost here and he lost there. And I think more so it's like him losing his mind because of what he did, the intenseness of just what he did in that Mihawk fight, how much he put aside in that moment to go and try to chase his dream, and how bad he lost to where he knows that he's not going to do a lot of things and just he's going to get stronger, of course, but he's not just going to blindly jump in without, you know, assessing the situation, categorizing the strength of his enemy, all the tactical stuff that now he does.
Yeah,
That's a long-winded
it's
answer.
just so. I just do not like him. Like, it's just I can't stand him, man. Like, just like who Kaido is as a person. Like, I just can't. He's just he's so fake, and I don't like fake people. I, you know what I mean? And then we have to talk about like Momo getting his stuff together, and he starts pulling off and figuring out how to move the Onigashima. Like he figures out how it works. And then we have Sanji's existential crisis, where he thinks he's becoming a soulless monster like his brothers, but it's really just Queen tricking him into thinking that, because Queen can turn invisible, and then made him think that he attacked an innocent woman that was in his way. But also, I like how like Sanji learns his lesson. He's just like, wait a minute, I wasn't I wasn't thinking about what this means for what I promised I was going to do. I didn't think about what it meant for the promises I've made to my best friends. You know what I mean? He's just like, he didn't think about what it meant outside of the downsides. He didn't think of the good side, like the upside of I'm stronger now, I'm faster now, I'm more durable now. I can help my friends do stuff that I couldn't help them do before this happened. He just thought of, oh no, I might turn out like my brothers. But it makes sense because he's so afraid of being heartless. But at the same time, Like, if you get stronger, you're more likely to make it where your friends are never hurt again.
Yep. And that's where a lot of these
Or
roles and a lot of these
unnecessarily
things,
hurt. Where your friends are
and
unnecessarily hurt.
that's where a lot of the mental has been for a lot of the crew members too at this point, because not even just Zoro's doing that way, Sanji's doing it that way, Robin's doing it that way, Nami's doing it that way, and even Usopp's trying to do it that way. But we all know Usopp and what he brings to the
Yeah,
table at
Usopp
this
can't
point.
actually pull it off because he is still too scared.
But him going against his fears at any point in time is more than enough at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it's the most he can do without shitting himself. So you have to let him do, because you can't do more than you can't do. You know what I mean? Like, you
It was
can't
the
ask
same
for
thing they talked
more
about
of
on
what
Alabasta.
someone can actually give and expect them to pull it off. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
you can only take as much as they can give without breaking, because the moment you go past their point of breaking, then they're not doing it anymore.
Yeah,
But and then it all just shows back on Kaido, like how much of a bitch boy it makes Kaido. That you see these three, well, not just three, but these entire people that are just proving the thing that Kaido thinks is correct is completely wrong, and they utterly dismantle his entire argument for existing over the course of the raid on Onigashima. Because like that's the one thing I think Oda does super well when it comes to the villains of One Piece is all of them are just, they're all a philosophical obstacle that the Straw Hats philosophy has to beat them in order for them to win. Because like as soon as the philosophy of the peoples aren't completely different from the Straw Hats, there's not a fight between the people. Like like in Ryuga Kingdom, Fishman Island. The people that he disagreed with on a philosophical level was fucking Haughty Jones and his bullshit lackeys. Everyone else, they just fundamentally agreed with like what's the best way to live your life and all that stuff, so they're still happy. Or like with Alabasta, like the actual people of Alabasta, like Luffy, even before he saved them all, just because they fundamentally agree with how to live your life. It's just the crocodile part. Or like Drum Kingdom, the actual people that lived in Drum Kingdom were cool with Luffy because they fundamentally agreed to the philosophy that Luffy had. It's just Wapple and I can't remember the two guys that are with Wapple. Their philosophy is fundamentally different than Luffy's on a like a the basic presuppositions of how they should, like how a person should live their life. So every time there's an enemy, their fundamental philosophy is the opposite of Luffy's in some way. Not even the opposite, but they're completely diametrically opposed to Luffy's. So it's always Luffy doesn't just have to beat the person. In beating the person, he has to show that their outlook on life is completely ineffectual. And I think Oda does a good job of showing that every time he beats someone. Because Luffy doesn't beat anyone because he's stronger. Because he wouldn't have all the stuff that he says during the fight where he's trying to prove a point to the person if that wasn't the case. The entire fight, like when Kaido's just like, I want to leave a mark on this world when you're dead. Don't worry, people will talk about this battle for generations. And Luffy's just like, when you're dead, you're just bones. So you have to live for now. And he gets back up. Stuff like that. Like he's trying to fundamentally show his opponent that the way that they see the world is incorrect. And he exemplifies it in the way that he fight. Like his fighting is how he thinks you should live in the world. Like he fights exactly that way.
I could see
And
that.
that's
I like
how
after you just
all
said
the
that, yeah,
things with people, like that's how
like
all the fights with all the big bads in it go, is he just showing that his philosophy is correct, which I think is also why it's fine that his character doesn't fundamentally change over the course of the story, because he doesn't have to change because his philosophy gets proven right every time he wins a fight.
I can see that, yeah. Because like I going to think about the last few people that we went against, like you even going to like I can go to like Hody. We mentioned Hody a minute ago. Literally, philosophically, they both believe two different things, two different ideologies behind strength. And like, Luffy comes into Fishman Island with just, pretty much with his whole bravado on display. Like no brakes, all gas. And the same thing, Hody's similar to Caesar in the same way that he went about that, because Caesar was trying so hard to just create this destructive force, using by any means necessary to get it. And Luffy showing him that, yo, you a piece of shit. You don't need to take over kids and all that to get what you want. And big thing we get to Dressrosa because now, Doflamingo is pretty much the whole thing of Strong's gonna conquer. He's meant to be this stronger, just demon. You know how he says heavenly demon. And the ways that he went about to dethrone King Riku and Dressrosa, the same way he went to the same method he went to stop Luffy was the method that ended up causing him and his whole empire to fall. Like you made this whole trap in the Coliseum, getting all these people from all over to fight for this fruit to get draw Luffy and them out, or to trap him. He's the same people and helping you get overthrown. Fujitora comes over there, supposed to be an admiral. I mean, he was already against him from the start because of what he wanted to do with the warlords, but in Luffy's case, turned his whole head and moving forward with abolishing the warlord system. And you get to well, Zoe, I can't really not Zoe, but Whole Cake. You can't really talk too much about Whole Cake because that's pretty much him going in to get Sanji and take him out. I think the focus on the fight was more so that. And when we get to Kaido's, where we talk about Big Mom and what's end up getting taken out, because of course both of their philosophies, absolute strength, power is going to get them to One Piece and all of that. And now it's being shown that it's not just power. That the same people, the way Kaido's indoctrinating people by power, Luffy is indoctrinating people by belief. Like everyone who's following him, just like the Ubermensch, is following him because they want to. Ex Drake came to Luffy and told him, I'm on your side. Now, Yamato had already been waiting for Luffy. She was on the other side, went to Luffy, I'm on your side now. When you talk about Killer and Kid, they're a dynamic. They're rivals that became allies, alliances. But they were righteously rival enemies that end up becoming rival allies off of course, the having a common enemy in Kaido, but also because Luffy pretty much brought that idea and stuff onto him because he ain't really trying to take him out or really trying to kill him. He trying to kill Kaido. So yeah, you 100% right. I do see that where you see the difference in philosophies being some of the driving forces in some of the last fights, the big fights we've seen. I definitely see it. Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, that's just how I saw it. Like that's why like if people be like, why you dislike Kaido so much, it's just because I see Kaido as a pathetic loser that lies to himself and others, and
It was like
he also doesn't own up to any of it after that happens either. Like at no point in time, he's like he doesn't own up to any of it at any point in time. Like he has ample opportunity because when Luffy goes Gear 5, Luffy absolutely destroys him. Like Luffy's just playing with him, and Luffy absolutely beats the ever living dog mess out of the man.
I can't even really like Gear 5 really when I went back and looked at it again, it's actually quite ridiculous. When they called it the most ridiculous power ever, I kind of see in just looking at it cuz I was telling, my girl about this cuz it's literally all three types of devil fruits in one. Literally. It's all three in one. Like he shows properties of everything. The awakened paramecia. We see awakened paramecia affect the environment around you. Dude gets awakened and now he's bouncing on the ground. We see the Logia properties. See, every time this man takes a hit, even on the iconic one, he takes the mace to the back of the head and his whole head shapes to it. That's a Logia feat. That's
But also,
literally a
it's not
Logia
just a
feat.
normal hit; it's a hit that's imbued with hockey, so it doesn't work.
Supposed to not work. Supposed to not work
No, I'm saying like it doesn't like the hockey imbuement doesn't work on it. Like normally a hockey imbued attack would work on
on a
Luffy's
Logia.
rubber, and it would work in the sense like the hockey would hurt him, but this time he's just like, nah, bro, nah. It's like he warps the reality around it so that the hockey doesn't actually work. And then when he applies hockey to it, like to that actual form, you see like how insanely powerful. Because Kaido's just like, hockey trumps all, and then Luffy's just like, you right, giant ass fist.
Yep. It's like, oh, you want me to use more hockey? I got you, buddy. I'll use more hockey. I use a lot more.
Yeah, yeah, I'll use hockey. Makes the giant ass Byron gun.
I'm
But
talking about, man, so
like,
much into like when you talk about like how just like you right, he just gets them like Gear 5 literally it went from probably even up in odds, maybe Luffy had some ups, Kaido had some ups to where he gets to Gear 5 and it's like, Kaido, what are you doing? Like, bro, you're looking real soft right now. You're looking real dusty. Like the power difference just became so abhorrent, so like freaking disgusting. Like, I can't even like, and he really didn't even know what he was doing. Take that into consideration because a lot of people say, "Oh, can Luffy?" It's been a conversation lately. Is like, can Luffy of now come back to Wano and beat Kaido? And I say 1,000%.
well, the thing is, he
Like,
almost won before he got stabbed in the back by CP0. Like that's
yeah,
my thing. He almost won anyway. Like Kaido got so mad that he couldn't just straight up win it that he had to go into like the drunk mode to get over it.
yep.
So like
And it's like much of that, and so much of that goes into it because like you literally was about to lose, and then if anyone knows how Luffy rocking now, he's using Gear 4 shit in base now.
yeah, yeah, he can
Like
use
that is
Gear
his
4
base.
without running out of hockey completely like
Dude,
used to
without
be.
even without growing up, without blowing his hand up, without having to do any of the extra
Yeah,
stuff to
because
go
when
Gear
he
4,
first
he's
meets
just throwing it.
Loki, he just goes into Gear 4, punches him in the face, turns back with no downside.
I'm talking about in like the same speed with the same speed and finesse of as if
No, he
he
can
was in
use
Gear.
Gear 4 like he could use Gear 3 in the past. Like just
Yeah.
on demand. Or
So
like
like a
Gear
lot of this
3
stuff.
before, like post time skip Gear 3 where it didn't have the downside anymore.
Yep,
He just
that's what Gear
immediately, he
4 is
just
now.
goes, sit the fuck down, Loki. And Loki's just like, I'm already sitting down, you
So
asshole.
without using any extra of his hockey and stuff like he was using in Dressrosa and stuff, like now he just does that now. So like his hockey mastering and stuff is way higher than the point of story he's at now. So to say that he wouldn't beat Kaido is like, are you even paying attention? Like, are we even paying attention? Like Luffy now, where he is now, is of where he was in Wano.
Yeah, dude, I 100% think that he would have destroyed, like if he came back and fought Kaido, like he would have 100% won. Like there's no doubt in my mind. He would have 1000% won.
Yeah, I'm with that. With that, I'm just excited though to see the next thing. Really excited for. Of course, I think next week's episode we tap into finishing Wano, but I think we tap into the Reverie and maybe the beginning of Egghead. I don't know
Um,
what the 20
I
track
don't
looks like.
remember if it's the beginning of Egghead, but it's.
I think it's the Reverie for sure. We're getting all of
But I
that.
do think it's the where we learn why everyone was freaking out about Sabo
Not the
next
finished
week.
part of the Reverie, but the start of all of that.
Yeah, like the reason everyone's mad at Sabo. And then what's it called? Like right before he goes Gear 4, we do see Kaido like showing off that he can do the Katakuri tricks too. But then like Kaido doesn't immediately win the fight there like you would assume. Because also another thing that you see is Luffy's able to change from Snake Man to Bounce Man and back at will is another thing.
That's true too. I
Because
didn't
he
I didn't
turns
notice that.
into
But I know what you're talking
he's
about.
Steak Man when he's fighting Kaido there. When Kaido goes, I can predict the future too.
Yeah, when
Then
he
he
come
hits him
back.
with Blast Breath and knocks him all the way back down to the ground. So while he's falling, he turns into Bounce Man and uses it to fly back up to the top of Ononogashima.
Yep, I know what
And
part
then
you're
he's
talking about.
able to use what is it? Giant Overkong. That's it. When he hits him with Overkong, and it's just like the
Over
fight
calm
should
down.
be
Yep,
over. Yeah, and you think that the fight should be over, and he's about to hit him with another one, and that's when
and that's the
CP
one.
Zero stabs him in the back, and
Yep,
Kaido's just like, haha, I'm gonna win. Cause
nope.
that's when he
I
jumps
agree
up
with
and stabs Luffy in the back. Because
you.
Luffy, like, like even Kaido is just like Luffy might have won with that hit. Like you can see, like that's why Kaido's so upset, because he
Yeah,
might
he doesn't
have
know if he would
gotten
have
what
came
he
out of that.
wanted.
Because you think about it, because it's a lot of they like Oda did a lot of things to lead up to for Kaido's fight style to lead up to a lot of those moments because of the simple fact that he was a guy who prided himself on taking the enemy's attacks to gauge their strength. And by this point, Luffy has hit him like hard enough for him to feel it and look at him sideways a couple
Yeah,
of
and
times at
Kaido's
this point.
so mad that he kills the guy.
Yeah, because he literally like you can tell like at this point Kaido doesn't really know what Luffy can do next, like what he's gonna do. And that thrill alone probably was what propelled him to think that he was well, propelled him to feel the enjoyment of the fight. And once you get to how it ended and see that he got like pretty much snuck and cheated, in Luffy's case, he got snuck and cheated, then you look at Kaido and it's like, bro, I ain't know if he kill me with that or if I was gonna be able to take it, but I should have at least finished. So the way it was set up, you definitely see it. But it goes back to Kaido being the biggest. He's the biggest bitch. He's the biggest bitch. He's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. But like, goes right back to that. Cause, bruh, yeah, you killed dude. You killed him. But man,
Yeah, and then he comes back to life with the drum beat of liberation. It's a really cool moment. That's why I used it as the thing. And then he just turns giant, and then he just absolutely destroys Kaido. Like after this
bro, my
point, like in
favorite
Gear
moment.
5, he beats the dog shit out of Kaido. Like he
Like
absolutely
literally,
dog walks this man.
my favorite moment in all of this whole montage to this day is literally how Kaido had descended into the floor, talking this big noise about how, oh, yeah, Straw Hat's dead. All y'all finna die. I'm the greatest ever. And literally, Luffy, you gotta, and this is why I love it because it's been so much buildup of Kaido, size, everything, being this giant figure, everything, immense, everything, to where Luffy literally reaches down through the same hole, grabs dude. Mind you, Kaido's huge, grabs him and yanks him back to the freaking the roof.
Yeah, and just fucks with him the whole time. Or like when he goes Gum Gum Giant, and he like friggin' does like stupid stuff. Like he's just like doing WWE wrestling moves with Kaido, and then
Suplexing
he does
him,
the yeah he suplexes him. He uses him as a
turned
jump
him into a
rope.
freaking jump rope, man. Turned him into a
Like,
freaking jump rope.
or
What?
how about the fact that he like he gets hits with blast breath and he just starts laughing about it. Like he just starts
Yeah,
laughing about it, and then he starts running on the sky. And he's running so fast that it leaves a trail of fire. And he's just like, I'm gonna hit you with this gum gum something, and then his head gets knocked down to the floor, and his eyes pop out of his head.
yeah.
But
Like it's
it's like
so
you can tell that he's clearly just fucking with Kaido,
and
and he's
that's
just having
that's
fun.
so exactly. And that's like why we really one of the main reasons why you look at the track of the Uber mentioned this phase is now the phase of the child because he's literally just whatever he wants to do in the sense of literally like when he said this is his peak, he's fighting the way being absolutely free. That is literally the epitome of it because you're talking about he's playing. It's almost like you put Legos in front of a kid and just say, just go at it. And they just start doing the most randomest stuff ever, whatever comes to mind is what it feels like. Like literally, he gets eaten by Kaido. Like the first thing comes to mind, I'm gonna bounce around in his insides. Oh snap! I see light. Let me go towards the light. and just starts doing dumb stuff like fidgeting with him almost, like to the point where he's just literally like he's learning in curiosity, but he's literally just doing whatever he wants to do. But he has an obvious agenda. That's why it's so crazy. He has an obvious agenda, which is to win a fight. But it's like you just doing whatever you like. You just pick this dude up and like jump rope with him. Like you just popped, catapulted yourself out this dude's insides, out of his innards. Like you just you just like grabbed lightning out of the sky and just threw it at him. Like you just bounced. You just picked the whole section of the. You just earthbended, my guy. You can do that. You just picked up a whole section of rock and threw it at him. Like, bro, I could keep going. I swear to God, I could keep going with all the random stuff this dude does in this fight, and that's why you look at it like a child playing in like a playpen. It's like he's literally turned the battlefield into his playpen.
Yeah, he
He's just
has.
laughing the whole time. Like, imagine you fighting this dude. You over here talking mad shit to him. You over here talking big boy gas. He just laughing the whole time. Yahoo, wee, the whole time. And you just
Yeah, he's
talking
just
big
having
boy
fun
gas.
at your expense the whole time.
Literally at your expense. Yeah, that's why we use this term very seriously to say he's now become the child in his phase of the Ubermensch. Like, and it's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious, and you see how he gets treated going forward with how everyone wants to see the new child on town. Everyone wants to see this new baby the world just got. You know, oh, what's that white form? What's that white form? Let me see that white form. What's that white form? Where that new kid at? Where that new baby at? Let me see that new kid. You know what I'm saying? Like it's very synonymous with how they treat Gear 5, with how we've used this track of the movement so far. Now we're in the phase of the child. He's now getting whatever he at his enemy's expense. Like it does not matter. Like if I want to play with you, I'm gonna play with you. No Diddy. You know, literally he did whatever he wanted to him, whatever he wanted. If he just decided to, he just like I'm still flabbergasted. The fact he just turned this gigantic dragon who was shadowing an entire city into a jump rope. I'm sorry, man. If y'all wouldn't know this metaphor and see it by now, man, you ain't paying attention because that's it right there. That's the epitome of it. We in the third phase. We done went through the camel, we done went through the lion, and now we in child, baby. We in it. It's official.
But yeah, but I think that's where we stop for this week because that's when it gets because the episode ends like right as he's about to nail him with the giant barong punch.
Yeah,
So
going back into all that. So,
we
you know,
finished a little
it,
earlier than I thought we were today, but I tried to be a little fast because I have a headache today. So I
I
apologize
mean,
if there's like some
we
moments
still
that we
covered a
missed.
lot. We still covered a lot. But hey, if there's anything we missed that y'all wanted us to talk about, just please drop it in the comments, man. We should have another Mushiagari here soon
Yeah,
in the coming times. So we do look at the comments and all that and stuff. So if there's anything we missed that y'all want to talk about, hit it in the comments. We'll definitely cover it in either the next
yeah,
episode or the next Mushiagari that we do.
yeah. So I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all's weekend, even though it's only like 8 more hours probably. But
Make sure
we
y'all
appreciate
like,
y'all for
comment,
stopping by. Yeah,
subscribe.
like, comment, subscribe, and
Appreciate all
hope you have
y'all
a good
jumping
one.
by. Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
all that.
corrupted.
And it's dragon.
Signing off. Peace, everybody.
Deuce, deuce, deuce.